Welcome to the Challenging Child Podcast, where you'll discover ideas to help change the behaviour of a child who is aggressive, defiant, controlling, or dishonest. Let's join Jill Tree from Stressed Parent.
Mahatma Gandhi said something very wise. He said, thoughts become words, words become actions, and actions become habits, or in our children's case, behaviours. And he was absolutely right. Research is now showing us that thoughts have an impact on our brain processes. And this is really, really good news for our children. It means that we are not set in concrete. We are fluid. We can change at any moment in time, and our children can heal. If we look at an example of a grateful thought, an attitude of gratitude, when we're grateful, amazing things happen in the brain. The first thing is that we improve and increase the number of brain cells in our prefrontal cortex. Now that's this part of the brain here that is responsible for executive functioning. This is the science bit. Now, executive functioning in our children, or lack of executive functioning in our children, because a lot of our children don't have it. Good executive functioning would mean that they can put their shoes on, pack their school bag, walk down the stairs, have a conversation with you, remember their spellings for the spelling test that day, and clean their teeth. We know that most of our children can only do one thing at a time. They have poor executive functioning. But imagine having an attitude of gratitude and how that can improve your prefrontal cortex. The second part of what happens when we're grateful is that we get a release of the hormone dopamine. Now, dopamine is really important in really great social interactions. Again, a lot of our children don't know how to interact in a social way. So imagine what could happen if we can improve that. And then we also have a release of serotonin. And serotonin is the hormone that acts like a mood enhancer. So what I want you to do when we're looking at thoughts and feelings, I want you, and it's going to be a little bit forced, a little bit strange, maybe even a little bit cheesy, but I want you to really overdo your attitude of gratitude. Act like a model to your children and they'll start to absorb this behaviour. I know this is going to sound really cheesy, but just go along and play with it. So go out in the garden. Thank you, rain, for watering my garden today. I don't need to do it. Thank you, daughter, for emptying the dishwasher. I was going to do that myself and you've done it for me. Thank you, son, for making me laugh today. I know. Just try it, play with it, and see if it becomes second nature. I honestly think that thoughts are the most important tool that you can sharpen in your resilience toolkit. And if you can start working on your thinking and your thoughts and changing them, you'll see huge, huge changes in yourself and then therefore your family. So how many of us have a voice inside our head? Is it just me, or do you sometimes find yourself thinking and talking to yourself in here? Sometimes we'll talk to ourselves positively. Oh, wow, I did such a great job on that. Often it's negatively. Oh, why have I been so stupid? Could be a mixture of both. If you find yourself talking to yourself more negatively, then just give it a little Mickey Mouse voice or something just to loosen the power of that negative voice and start really, really questioning it and seeing if what it's saying is actually true. I've got an exercise to help you with this, and it's called PWDR, and that stands for power, will, desire, and right. So I want you to think about something you'd like more of in your life. So it might be more calmness, more happiness, more playfulness. And if you choose happy, then just go through this with yourself, just in a reflective way, and maybe say it out loud as well. I have the power to be happy. I have the will to be happy. I have the desire to be happy. And I have the right to be happy. Have a go with that now. I'm trained in something called NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, which is a bit of a mouthful, but basically what it means is that different parts of you affect other parts. So the neuro, the brain, affects your physiology, and your languaging and your thoughts affect your brain and your physiology. And you just need to change one of those things to have an effect on the other. So if you think of the posture of somebody who's very depressed, okay, they're going to be down, their shoulders are going to be down and rounded, the head is dropped, the mouth is down, there's no eye contact, shallow breathing, no energy. If you took that person and just got them to stand up, shoulders back, maybe moved a bit, brisk walking, got them to smile even if they don't feel like it, smiling releases a hormone that gives you a bit of a mood lift. Changing your physiology can change how you feel and how you are in the world. So it's another way of just experimenting with how thoughts, feelings and physiology can really be shifted just by giving them some attention. I'd like to tell you a true story that really shows the power of thought. Many, many, many years ago, I got lost on the sides of Mount Kenya for 5 days on my own. I lost my rucksack down a waterfall, so I had no food. I lost my sleeping bag, so I had nothing to keep me warm at night. By the 3rd day, my folks at home had had the phone call from the Foreign Office to say, the search party's been called off. There's no hope of finding Jill alive. Now you can imagine that at the moment that I realised that I was lost and alone, I was absolutely terrified. I had gone up the mountain, it had taken 4 days to climb, just with a friend of mine, but I had been a very inexperienced walker, and I got terrible altitude sickness. So that moment when I realised I was lost and alone and I couldn't find my path and I was worried that my friend had fallen and hurt herself, absolute terror. But I realised that I had to get off that mountain, and it was down to me to get off that mountain. It was just before Christmas time, and there was no way I was going to spend Christmas Day on my own on that mountain. So I suddenly realised that I could just change that energy fear into one of more excitement, actually, and determination. I was going to beat this challenge this mountain was offering me, and I was going to win. I would soon be down. Changing my attitude, changing my thoughts, actually saved my life. I'm wondering what it could do within your family. Let's look at one particular thought, and that is the thought of worry. Worry is something we don't really do out loud, we do it inside our heads, and it can take up an awful lot of time and it can really drain our energy. So I've got an exercise I'd like you to do to really think about some past worries. List down 5 or 10 past worries, and then on the exercise you'll see there's some questions like, did worrying actually help? Did it solve the problem? What did resolve the problem? And then there's another exercise to follow on from that, looking at present worries. What are you currently worried about? Again, list 3, 4, 5, however many you have. And again, ask those questions. Is worrying helping now? What can I do to make things better? How can I worry a little less about this? Take some time just doing that activity. So when you worry, you don't plan, you don't engage in positive thinking, and you spend an awful lot of time brooding on something that maybe hasn't happened yet or is going to happen in the future. It ignores the present and it fusses over a negative past or something bad that's going to happen in the future. So let's think about worry again. I think worry can become like a background buzz. It can just literally always be there in the back of your mind. So there's certain things that we can do to help us worry less. When you worry, you don't plan, you don't work towards a goal, you certainly don't engage in positive thinking. You may obsess on the problem, you may imagine the worst, and you certainly fail to make decisions. So looking at how to stop worrying or worrying less, worry festers out of ignorance. So instead of worrying, start to learn. So if you're worrying about your child, their behaviour, start to read some books on behaviour, start to read some books on attachment. They would really, really help you. But although you're learning about something, you can't be worrying about it. If you've got worries about the past and you've got those regrets, oh, I should have done this, oh, if only I'd done that, then maybe it's time just to put them into a hot air balloon and visualise them floating away. Worry feeds on inertia. So again, don't worry, act, take some action. And it could be not even related to the worry. It could be just getting out of the house and going for a walk. Just taking your mind off the worry for a while. But avoid futile fretting from others. I know that often when we're adopters and foster carers, we get together and we can start to almost feed worries off each other. So just take care that that doesn't happen and you don't start worrying about something that doesn't even exist. So here's 10 top tips to help you worry less. Make a worry post box. So imagine that you're going to worry for a little bit on something and then you're going to post it in a box and let the box look after it for a while. It's a great tool for your children as well to have a worry box, and they can just forget about their worries, maybe put them in the box and let the box look after them at bedtime. Live in day-tight compartments. So again, just saying, I'm going to worry about this for 10 minutes. I'm going to worry really hard about it, but once I've finished my worrying about it, I'm going to move on to the next thing, and whatever that next thing is that you need to do. Let go of regrets. Live by the 80-20 rule. So what you put your focus on grows. So maybe put only 20% of your focus on the worry, 80% on the action, what you can do to make the situation better, whatever it is that you're worrying about. Cooperate with the inevitable. So bend like the willow. Don't resist like the oak. In a storm, it's the willow that will survive the storm, and it's the oak that suffers the damage. We need to be flexible, especially with children like ours. So be bendy and flexible like a willow. Put a stop loss on your worries. I'm only willing to worry this much, and then I'm not worrying anymore. Don't fuss about the trifles and don't sweat the small stuff. There's a great book on that you can get out. It's on the reading list. Take action, change worry to concern, and count your blessings, not your troubles. If you are a worrier, then there's a fantastic book that I really recommend. It's called How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, written by a guy called Dale Carnegie back in the 1920s, but still absolutely pertinent to today. So go and get yourself that book. It is actually on the book list. What we can do with worry, and just to loosen the effect and the power that worry has, is we can change using the word worry and use the word concern. Concern is more reasoned, it's more purposeful. If we think about being concerned about being burgled, we might make sure we've got a Chubb lock on our doors, that we've got window locks, but we don't spend every day worrying about it. The concern is there, but it's something we've taken some action on, and then it's done. So start to play around with your languaging around worry and other things. And this is where I'm going to look at another activity called taboo words. So I would want you to start to think about your language and whether you're using overly powerful language, which might not be as appropriate as it could be. So for example, I'm really angry with you is very, very different to you just annoyed me. You know, can you feel the difference? And which is the most appropriate and which is the one that's going to keep the harmony within the home and keep some harmony within ourselves as well. So, God, I hate it is very different to I don't like that. Very, very different. What else do we use? We overly use. You always say that. Would be very different to you sometimes say that. Very, very different. So be careful about overly using powerful words that aren't necessarily that appropriate, because they have effects on our brain, as we know, and then our physiology. Also with taboo words, it's that voice inside our head again of the, oh, I'm so stupid, or what's wrong with me, or oh, whose fault is this, or why is this happening? It keeps happening. If you have those sorts of language in sort of your head, inside your head, then ask better questions. How can I turn this around? What would be a better way of thinking about this? What will I learn from this? Will this matter a few years from now? Have a look at the exercise, see how you can stop using some of these taboo words and phrases and start to record your successes. Having just told you to start thinking about how you're speaking to yourself inside your head and changing your language, I'm going to contradict myself actually, because it's really important that if we have an emotion, we don't repress that emotion and we do feel the emotion. So if you are feeling incredibly sad about something, it is absolutely fine and natural and healthy to feel that sad emotion. And the number of times, you know, I've dragged myself off after my son's gone to bed and I've just felt like, oh, I've been such a rubbish mum today, and I've just shed those tears around it. It's good to get it out, otherwise it will linger within us. So feel your emotions fully, let them out, and then move on to starting to think about how you can be in the moment.